here. I will get you live on the Books of Faces.
I'm also going to get us live on Facebook.
Fancy technology, quarantine.
Right.
Quarantine.
There's that, and there is the recording. So you are good.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Tales from the Barside, Quarantine Edition. I'm your host, Remy, and my lovely co-host.
Hi, Lauren.
And your special guest tonight, introduce us to your friend.
Okay, so this is my cousin, Lindsay.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm sharing this on my Facebook really quick.
Get it up there on the Book of Face. Let everybody watch us. Everybody gets to listen to our show live now instead of recorded and up on the next day.
Remy, what are you drinking?
I got a Whitmer special.
What is that? Oh, Whitmer special.
Yeah, because she was drinking Two Hearted the day after the SNL skit. You know, she was like, we drink Michigan beer. So
good.
I'm going to call Two Hearted's Whitmers from now on.
And what about you, Lindsay? What are you drinking?
I got some Rainbow Seeker.
Ooh, Blake.
Delicious.
Cider.
Very nice. And Lo, what do you have there in your cup?
I'm drinking Cabernet Sauvignon, and then I also have, as my backup, I've got an entire cooler filled with Bud Light and some ice.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
The classiest.
Wait, Bud Light ice
Only
or
the best
Bud
in
Light
this house.
and some ice?
Just regular Bud Light piss water.
Okay, there you go. Not Bud Ice. That stuff is
Not
dangerous.
Bud Ice, no.
That'll put hair on your chest. You don't want
that. Yeah, that's that malt liquor.
So, Lindsay, tell us about yourself. You've been in the ringer, so to speak. You've been behind a bar before. You've worked in the industry, I take it.
Yep. So I worked at a sports bar in Chicago for 5 or 6 years, out suburbs of Chicago, I should say.
Okay.
And then I also worked at a nightclub in Metro Detroit for a while. So
no stranger to making drinks for strangers. Then.
No stranger.
Okay, well, how about you tell us, like, what is, like, one of the things that you really loved about being in the service industry?
Probably mostly the camaraderie with the staff.
Yeah.
Is probably one of my favorite things. You become a family with who you serve with. So I love that. I'm still like lifelong friends with these people, even though we haven't worked together for years, which is great. And then of course the stories.
Oh yeah. Gotta rely on those barside stories there.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. I'm friends with people that I've, haven't seen in 10, 15 years, but we still connect and still keep in touch with each other. Even if it's minimally, you're friends, your family for life.
Yeah,
it's so true. I mean, I worked at a nightclub out in Ann Arbor, and that, like, I still talk to those people, and I haven't worked there in like 8 years now. Right. So, you like maintain those friendships for a really long time.
I haven't worked at the bar in Chicago for 8 years, and I still talk to those people on a regular basis.
They're like family.
They become family while you're there, definitely.
There are a few places that I've worked at that, like, maybe afterwards I don't really talk to them so much. Like, I'll attempt, but if you're just not interested, you're not interested. So
yeah,
you know how it is.
Well, and I also feel like everybody finds like their own different path after a restaurant. Like, either you have like those lifelong people that are going to be in it forever, or there are some people that like come out of it and they're doing something totally different with their lives.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those, sometimes restaurants and bars can be like that transition period for people, and then sometimes you got those lifelongs.
Yeah. Especially at Necto, we had like people that were there for like 15 years and shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane how long some of those people, and then, they'll replace somebody finally after they leave, and it'll be like a string of people there for 2 months, at a time.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. I always had like a hard time with that. I'm a lifer when I work somewhere. I try and stay for a really long time, but I have had my like string of places where I've worked for like a day and I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah. Or 3 months or 4 months.
Right,
It's like,
exactly. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
thank you. Not a good fit. You can tell though. You can just like
Oh, yeah.
tell when it's not the best fit for you.
Oh, that was me with I've always worked at like small business restaurants that aren't corporate.
Mhm.
And I took a corporate position at a restaurant one summer. I was like, oh shit, this is
what have
nuts.
I done?
What have I done?
I
You
don't
feel-
like that. I hate the corporate life.
You feel dirty afterwards. You
Oh
feel
my
like, God, I
God,
need to
just-
shower
it's like-
myself.
It's like culty kind of in a weird
That
way.
sucks, man.
and-
You don't
yeah.
ever feel like you don't get that like sense of camaraderie that you were talking about. Like every time I've ever worked at like a corporate place, it's always been like there's them and then there's me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
To an
Very
extent.
weird.
To an extent,
Everyone's out for themselves.
there's
sorry,
definitely
Remy.
been some coworkers that I like felt that family camaraderie with at the corporate places, and I'm still
Sure.
good friends with this to this day. But the difference between management at a mom and pop and management at a corporate is way different.
Way
So
different.
different.
You could tell the people who are playing the game and doing the
Yeah.
politics, they're just saying all the right things because somebody's watching them on camera, and
Yeah.
somebody might come in and secret shop you at any time.
Oh my gosh, that was the worst. Oh
Like,
my
fuck
gosh.
off with that
Shoppers?
secret shopper bullshit, dude.
Can you
It's
tell
so
me
done
what's
with.
exactly all can you list all of the ingredients in this specific pasta?
I sure can, but I don't fucking want to.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
And I don't think
Not
anybody
gonna.
fucking wants to hear it either, except for like somebody who's trying to get a $10 off coupon by being a secret fucking shopper.
Right.
It's just an asinine way to run your business, and it shows like a lack of trust between your employees and yourself. It pits this whole us against them thing. And you know, when the chips are down, because right now the chips are down, the whole industry is just obliterated right now. Nobody's been working for months. And then the last corporate place that I worked at that I left right before the coronavirus hit, like 2 months, just announced that they're not reopening their Detroit location. Like everybody's fucked, out of a job. And the people that worked there didn't find out from corporate or their managers. They found out on the news today.
Yeah.
Like then nobody called them and told them. Nobody gave them the heads up. Like,
I know.
fuck
I actually
you.
I sent
You're not gonna
Remy
have
a
a job to
link
come
this
back to.
morning and I was
Yep.
like, yo, dude, you dodged a bullet.
Right. So guess who won't ever go to another Punchbowl social again as long as I fucking live? I don't care what
Yeah.
state
Oh
it's
shit,
in.
it was Punchbowl.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, fuck them. They suck.
There,
They
now,
suck.
there was an update to that story that
I
came
was just
out.
about to say.
Oh, okay. What have they done now?
So they did say that. So number one, it was. How did I not know they were like majority owned by Cracker Barrel of all places?
Yeah,
that happened-
weird. When you posted that, I was like, what the fuck?
Which explains so much.
I knew that
Explains
because
so much.
I knew that because I just worked for them, and so it was fairly new to their corporation. Like they built a good 10 or 15 or close to 20 stores throughout the United States. Cracker Barrel came in, has said, hey, we do scratch food and we've been doing it for years and we do it great. You guys do scratch food and scratch cocktails. We'll put our weight behind you and, you know, buy into your idea because it looks really great. And now the virus is hit and they're like,
and then
oh yeah, fuck you. Like,
well, no, so
Just kidding.
So then the
We're
updated
saving
story
our
that
own
came out
asses.
is they are apparently planning on reopening eventually, but they won't be bringing any of the staff back. It'll be with all new staff.
Which is super fucked up. That's
So you're just
super
firing
fucked
all
up.
your old staff and
Yep.
you're just gonna hire all.
And it said
So listen,
from like
Wow.
frontline all the way up to the executive chef getting
listen,
replaced.
I'm just gonna put it. I'm
What?
gonna put it to you guys like this.
They're not
I
even
went through-
keeping anybody?
No.
I went through their training program. Okay, I worked for them. That place has been in downtown for a good like 7-8 years now, and they have turned over.
They were one of the
they've
first new
turned over
Detroit flags. Yeah.
They've turned over so many times. They've gone through all the servers and bartenders in the area, and so good fucking luck. Like trying to reopen without any of your core staff left behind.
Well,
Like,
and I think that really tells
they
you
just do things
something
wrong.
about them as a business because, I mean, when you get those mom and pop or the small business, people come to that business because of the staff.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not for any other reason. I mean,
Right.
well, okay, maybe they have good drink specials on Tuesday or Thursday, but like, if you get that really hardcore group of, you know, your return customers, they're coming there and they're building a rapport with your staff. And
I mean, you got to have good food and drinks. You got to have a good atmosphere
Sure.
and something cool to do. But at a mom and pop place, it is about the people, and the
Oh my
staff
God.
gets to know the regulars, and the regulars come to see
Yeah.
them. And at corporate, they think they're too cool for school. You know, it's like I worked at a Hard Rock, and they're like, everybody comes for the guitars on the walls. It's like, no, they don't. They come because
No.
it's a place to be seen and hang out and stuff
and-
like that. And like
and guess
once
what
you've
else
seen all the
closed?
guitars, it's not.
Guess
that
what
big of
else
a deal.
closed? Hard Rock
What?
Detroit.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
that close.
And I know the story
I know about
behind them
that.
too.
That's hilarious.
They
though.
had a lease in that sweet building, and then once the lease ran out, it was a sweetheart deal to get the lease as cheap as they got it. And once the lease was up, they're like, okay, so now rent is this, and they're like, yeah, no, we're good.
And
Well, I can
Brilliant.
tell you, I worked as a mortgage banker at a certain place downtown,
Yeah.
and it was
I wonder which
that was like the place for the mortgage bankers to
Oh, yeah.
go after work, and I was always
It's like,
like,
let's
are you
call
guys-
them. Let's
are
call
you
them what
guys
they were.
kidding me?
Quicken
Yeah,
Bros.
that's where you go.
This
They
is
were-
where we want to go right now.
They were the Quicken Bros. Let's be honest.
Hey, I didn't say it. Don't come after me.
No,
Right. Do you still work for them?
No, she doesn't still work for him.
No, I don't.
no. We used to laugh anytime we were in like whether it was oh god, I don't even think it's open anymore. It's the place where all the journalists used to go, up around the corner from Kobo, Union maybe. Anyway, we were there one night and a bunch of us were hanging out, and it was almost like there was a bus that was driving them around, because like every 30 minutes there would be like 10 to 15 like bros in khakis and polo shirts
Yeah.
that would like show up, be super loud, all order like some obnoxious beer and some obnoxious shot, and then vanish. And then like 30 minutes later, here comes the next flock. And it's
Okay,
like
I wasn't a bro, but I can attest.
It wasn't a bro.
I wasn't a bro, but I can attest to the fact that they have shuttles that go
oh, that's
from.
probably exactly what it was.
They go from like whatever building you're working in that day to whatever parking structure that they make you park your
and this
car
was
in.
by a
because
parking structure, so
there
yeah.
was like no parking downtown, so there were these
Yeah.
shuttles that would just
I
like
can
run
imagine
around.
if that's a thing. Come on.
Good times.
Come on.
The doggy needs a break too.
Right.
No, and hey, you know, hey, when I worked at the Hard Rock, it was something else in that building then. It was CompuWare back then, and they all came down and hung out with us, and they were great regulars, and we had a good time with them and stuff like that. A lot of them, you know, made Punchbowl their regular spots. Like, you know, chain restaurants are chain restaurants, and they do what they do for a reason. I just can't fucking work for them anymore because I can't stand the corporate lingo. I can't stand the rules and the nastiness and the like. There's no sense of love.
And like what you said earlier about like that, like there's no trust with your employees. That's
Right.
like 1000% what you always feel like you're in like a gotcha moment. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Caught
it's like,
you.
Super
Caught you doing something
micromanaging.
wrong.
yes, and it's like I
everything.
work for nothing, and you're
Yeah.
gonna try to
You're
get me
barely paying me.
right.
And then also you're going to give me a hard time about everything I do.
Right,
And
literally
act
everything.
like,
Like,
they're doing you a big favor.
did you?
Like, you're
well,
lucky
I
to
didn't
work
hear
there,
you
know that.
offer an appetizer. Like, are you
Right.
kidding me? Really?
They
All that
told me
kind
they're
of-
in a hurry. They don't want appetizers.
Right.
Get the
All
fuck
that
outta
kind of
here.
dumb shit.
Right.
Yeah, I worked at, I've done 3 corporate restaurants, and I'll never do another one. I said I'd never do another one after the second.
I know,
But
and then you did.
It's hard to pinpoint which one was the worst. I think Buffalo Wild Wings was. I could not stand that
Oh,
because the uniform sucked and like the corporate spiel sucked. And I just didn't do the corporate spiel. I was like, I'm just going to bartend, and everybody loved me. And I was really good at my job, and I was holding it down. But then, you know, they caught me with a secret shopper one time, so they sent me home. And then there was another instance where some woman came in and she was a secret shopper, and she was a total bitch to me. And so I wasn't rude to her, but I was definitely like, okay, ma'am, have a great day kind of with her. And so
Yeah.
she went back, and they were like, oh, you know, the manager, she's getting in tears, and she's like, you know, this really sucks. I'm like, I fucking hate it here. Like, you've got to fire me. Don't cry about it. Like, just fire me.
Yeah, it's okay.
Like,
You're
it's
actually
not
doing
that big
me
a deal.
favor.
I've been fired before. And
Now
she's
I
like,
have time to go find a different job. So
she's like, you're such a good bartender. You're like the best bartender I've ever worked with, but you just won't do the corporate spiel. I'm like, I know, because I hate it. Like,
Because it's so like disingenuous, and it's
Thank you.
so just like,
Sorry.
I like, as a bartender, you build good relationships with customers, and I'm just not gonna do the corporate spiel. Like, I'm gonna ask you other questions. I'm not gonna be a bitch, but I'm gonna just talk to you about other things. I'm not going to try to push appetizers on you. I'm just not going to try to push appetizers on you.
You know that there's appetizers available. If you want one,
they can read the menu.
You're literally holding a menu.
Do you want me to suggest something to you? I'll suggest stuff.
Right. Like, if you ask me, I'll tell you, but I'm just not going to be pushing sales.
I'm not going to sound like a robot, you know,
right.
But that's all it is to them. It's a numbers game. They don't care that you're a person. They don't care that, like, you know, you're a fucking human being with thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. You're numbers. That's
but it's almost
really
like they don't even consider like the consumer as a person with thoughts and feelings.
No,
like,
it's all like advertising.
Yeah. Like, they're just a marketing tool. But I actually didn't realize that Punchbowl Social was corporate.
I didn't either until
which
I went
is
down there and worked
so funny. But like,
I remember
a great premise for
Cracker Barrel. Say
I know. Well, now I know. Thank you.
Barrel.
Thank you. Now I know.
I love.
But I'm just saying, like, it's a great premise for a bar.
If
like,
Beaner's
it really
Coffee,
is.
if Beaner's Coffee had to change their name because it's offensive,
oh my God, Big B.
As a middle-aged white guy, Cracker Barrel needs to go down. I'm just saying. It causes me emotional trauma every time I drive by one of their signs. No,
just change it to Cracker Karens.
Cracker Karens.
Yeah, make it Karen Barrel. Make it
Barrel.
Make it Barrel of Karens. That'd be phenomenal.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
I really, like I said, I like the premise of Punchbowl Social. Like, I love like the idea of like adult arcade and fun and all of that. But
the
that
games,
just sucks.
The space, but yeah, it's just like you're corporate schmooze balls. Like,
well, so and that's the difference. I mean, it's like you were talking about earlier, like in regular, not regular, well, but mom and pop places, people come in and they develop a rapport with the staff.
Yeah,
dude, I follow bartenders. I don't follow bars. That's how that works.
Right.
But from a corporate perspective, like, that place doesn't rely on that. That place doesn't get that traffic. That place is looking for corporate events. It's looking for the one or two big, huge ticket events per night, rather than the 300 to 500 moderate tickets per night.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
they know where the bread and butters.
Lindsay and I worked at a place together that the entire thing, like, they did some marketing or whatever, but the entire thing was based off of getting people to come in and see you. Like, and even though we had huge big name DJs come in and they sold tickets, what was really the driving point was making sure that the staff had a set amount of people that come in to see them every single night. Absolutely. And you would you promote yourself, you make sure that people know where you're at, what you're going to be doing, if you have any specials going on, and they come in just for you. That's the whole point. It was like, we have this thing that's already a selling point, and yes, that's going to get people in here, but we want you to be the market, because in reality, these DJs are going to come and go, and they're not going to be here every night, and it's not going to be the same DJs every night. So they need to have people that they come in and it's a familiar face every single day.
Well, we don't really want to hire a marketing firm, so why don't you go ahead and do that for us?
The one that we worked at was owned by like one single guy. It wasn't like an entire thing. So it was like his first place. And so he was like, we market, but you have to market yourselves too. And there's a lot of places that do that. Like, I know of a few places in downtown Detroit that if you don't give your login information to your Facebook and Instagram and stuff, you can't work.
See, that
I know
just
a lot of places like that.
Nope, bye.
Yeah, I just don't like that. That's
a
little
thing, though.
big brothery to me.
With $400 and $500 a night, you're gonna hand over your shit, and it's just the way it is. They rely, a lot of places rely on their staff solely to maintain that like core group of people coming in. the other people are going to come and go, that's fine, but you still have to have like people that come in for you.
That's still
Right.
just such a security and privacy issue. Yeah, no. Nah.
Yeah, for me, that's a security and privacy issue as well.
Well, the place that we worked at, we were allowed to have a separate Facebook. So, but
I did have a separate Facebook for that place for a while.
Facebook. So, and that Facebook was literally just like your like Lauren name of the club, you
Right.
know, like what it was. But I do know places personally that they do not allow you to make an additional Facebook. You have to actually give them your information.
See, that's my online identity. How are you about to tell me?
And if you post something that later on in life, my like future employer goes on to like look and see what I've been doing, because that's a thing, people do that.
For sure.
And they see something that they don't like, they could not hire me because of that one post that I didn't even make.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna need a list of those because I'm gonna want to talk about them on my show.
I will hand you a list of those so you can talk about them on your show, but I will not talk about them on this show.
I'm pretty
sure we will light them
I'm
up.
not as in deep with the bar scene as Lauren is in Detroit. So I wouldn't know. But the one place that I did work at with Lauren, I do know that we were able to create like a separate account for that bar where we were like pushing.
Yeah, promoting the events.
Promoting the event is mostly, that was it. It was just promoting the event.
And I think that the reason why we were allowed to do that was because we had multiple people that were working there that had like big girl jobs, you know, and they had like things that they had to do that were
hustle. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and that's totally fine. But these places that I'm talking about, they don't give a shit. Like you could literally be a fucking, you know, pastor working at a fucking place on the side, and you had to give them your real account info.
I just don't understand, like, unless I'm signing a contract or an NDA or like something, like how are you about to tell me that I can't have another online persona?
Yeah.
Well, unless you're giving me something with at least 5 figures in it and a comma.
Right.
Yeah.
More than that. Give me a break. 6 figures.
Well, I know a lot of people that are just like, unless you're going to pay me for my promotion, but you know, which I understand, but on the flip side of that coin, it's like for people like we were talking about before, where that's your job forever, like you plan on making this like a real career, then part of your job is promoting yourself.
But then it should be stuff that you're doing on your own, not them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not enforcing
it too, but like Lauren, I know some of those places that you're talking about, and females age out of that industry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, at some point we do. Yeah. Well, unless you want to work at like
at some point the females aging out of that industry, because that's just I mean, give me a break.
But if you work at a hole in the wall, I know some 60-year-olds that are still kicking it.
Yeah, but that's a hole in the wall. They're not asking for your Facebook logins.
Yeah, no, like not a nightclub. No nightclub is telling you that.
They're relying on that neighborhood traffic, those regulars.
You might be 60, but you're also 90% saline. So.
I mean, those exist. That's a thing. I've seen it. Or is it like, because you have you have pumas and you have cougars. We always called those either saber-toothed tigers or prune tang.
That's so bad.
We've had some nicknames that I can't really say, but we've had some pretty good nicknames for the people that come into our bars, I'm sure.
Oh,
I mean, unfortunately, that's just the truth for female servers and bartenders.
It's true. And Remy and I have talked about that a few times, the difference between a male bartender and a female bartender, and how they're treated and what's expected of them. It's totally different.
Oh yeah, one of them's got nuts, one of them doesn't.
Okay, so one of those points
might be a little deeper than that.
Well, I will say that I have noticed that like some people, like at some places, it's totally acceptable for the male staff to like, take home customers and stuff like that, while it's frowned upon for the women.
The double standard. Yep.
Not that I've ever actually tried to take home anyone I met at the bar, but
I mean, there's constantly that double standard.
No, me neither.
When I worked at the sports bar in Chicago, the owner was just such a fucking turd. But he decided that he was gonna transition what we had been, which was, well, first, when I first started, it was white button-ups and ties and black pants like Olive Garden.
Okay.
And he decides, okay, well, that doesn't have sex appeal, so I'm gonna do black shirt, black pants. Okay, fine, totally fine. Then he decides, I'm gonna go more towards like Hooters, and all women have to wear tan nylons, booty shorts, and like a zip up jacket that you wore zip down so your boobs were like really big and crazy. Meanwhile, keeping all of his staff, so all the staff that was used to like the white button up and ties, and then the guys got to wear black pants, black shirt, black t-shirt. And I'm like, so all of a sudden I'm working at a completely different, like, this is
I'm at a strip club.
This isn't what I signed up for.
I'm at a strip club.
This is not what I signed up for.
If I wanted a job at Hooters, I'd have gone to work at Hooters.
Right.
Right.
And not only that, we had to pay for the custom-made uniforms, which were $90 that he took out of our check. Did the guys have to pay for theirs? No, they didn't.
No.
But the women did. And not to mention, those nylons that would catch snags in them and run were $4 every pack. So basically, every shift you were working, you were paying $4 for a pack of nylons. So it was
The thing about places like that and owners like that too is they're like, well, this is the way we're doing it now, and if you don't like it, it was nice working with you, and we wish you luck, but there's the door, because we'll find somebody else who will. We'll find somebody else who will do it. I know.
Well, he's out of business now, so.
Of course, he doesn't.
Well,
he didn't know what the hell he was. You know, it's like you got to make up your mind.
He has major lawsuits against him because he also fired a few pregnant women. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whoopsies.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
No, that's the kind of guy. That's the kind of guy that's got all the money to run a bar, but doesn't know the first thing about running a bar.
Oh my God. And he did.
That's why
he was such a sleazeball. He had like 3 different bars. He had like, a dry cleaner, a blah, blah, blah. He owned a strip mall. He owned a car wash, like all this shit. And he was just awful, and just saw women like purely as pawns to make money.
Yeah, or a pawn and an object. Yeah. Exactly. Like no humanity, no empathy, no kind of like love for the people that are putting it together. See, I've worked for people that they put their heart and their soul into their business, and they expect their employees to take pride in it and do this. I've gotten so lucky with some mom and pops that I've worked at that are like that. They're like, look, I got my life savings in this place. Like, I mortgaged my house. My partner did too. We're here trying to make this succeed, and we need good people that believe in this place that are going to help us along.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, dude, we love you. We'll go to bat for you. And this is our place too. And we'll take pride in it. And, when you've got that family kind of feel to it, it works so much better than the whole, like, this is just one of my business ventures. And how can I make more money? How about you broads show your boobs a little bit more? Hey,
well,
that sounds like a good idea.
Like also the idea of buy-in, like, if you can get your staff to buy into this idea and to your vision and to what you're trying to pursue, you're going to have just such a better outcome than if you're just like laying down like, here, put on these Hooter shorts and put your tits out and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, bro. Not
you know what we need to get the fellas in here. Maybe if you broads would show your booties a little bit more.
You know what we need for some more sexual harassment in the bar?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you girls aren't
your asses out
enough. The customers aren't. They're not even slightly aroused right now. Why don't you do something to change that?
I don't see enough boners in this place.
I worked at a strip club for a while, bartending, might I add. And so, Lindsay, when you were saying,
bartending.
When you were saying,
I couldn't resist, Lo. I'm sorry.
Your cabaret card.
It's actually an adult entertainment card.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
That adult sexual business card.
I was trying to make it sound classy.
sexually oriented business or some shit like that.
Sexually
I still have mine.
oriented business.
No, I know it. I still have mine. I'll pull it out. But like, so okay, when you worked there, they had all of the girls had to wear nylons, like you were talking about, right? But the thing is that they had it so that way you had to wear Capezio nylons. And if anybody that's
those are more
listening-
expensive.
Anybody that's listening and has ever been in like dance or anything like that, gymnastics, anything like that, Capezio nylons are like $15 a pair, but they're thicker.
Expensive.
And if you had a run in them or anything, you had to buy a whole new set, and they had a stack of them in the back. Like you had to have.
Oh, so they sold them to you?
Yeah.
You got them
and they charge $20 at the strip club, but they're like $15 if you buy them from a dance studio. Like
so, he's making money off of you guys every way he can.
Yeah.
Our uniform was $125.
Yeah. I know.
Dave,
I was complaining about what did I say, $60-$90.
I'm running my business wrong. Apparently, I need my engineers in uniforms, and I need.
I do love to wear a teddy as a shirt, so if you decide to do that, let me know.
When we got those uniforms at that bar in Chicago, we had to like sign over the like if we couldn't pay up front that they could take it out of our paycheck.
Yeah, and they make you sign a thing so that it's all legal.
Yeah, I would not sign shit. I'd be like.
Again, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, then you don't want to work here, and they know that they'll find plenty who will sign it. So
right, and what was unfortunate was like I was just so like I loved my manager and I love the people that I work with and I loved my regulars. So I was like, I don't even want to like spend time looking for something else. Like
you just do it. Yeah, you just do it.
you just do it. You're just put in like a rock and a hard place.
Because a lot of places a lot of places you just end up being like, this is what I have to do, and if I don't do this, I don't have a job, so I'm gonna do it. Right. And it's like it's not fair, it's not nice, but I found myself doing it quite a few times. I worked at that we've talked about a billion times too. I worked at a place where we had to wear like a themed outfit every fucking weekend, and I was spending $50 to $100 every fucking weekend.
I mean, I feel like there's an entire industry of some sort that's been built around that.
Oh my God, Dave! I love your background.
What it is right off the top of my head, but there's something that I'm thinking of, and that goes.
I don't remember what it is either.
I was like looking at Zoom things the other day, and I wanted one with like dudes standing around with like their dicks out, so that way it was like you're sitting in the middle, and there's just a bunch of dudes with their dicks out towards you.
We had to make the program a little more wholesome there, gang. Dave soiled this good name.
Yeah, that's this show. Putting the ass in classy. That's what this show is. That's it.
Not that I knew what that black couch meant or anything.
God.
No, but that's honestly like so. Back when I was a bartender, I mean, it was a neighborhood place, but it was a bigger place. It was actually 6 bars that were all. This was when I was in Boston, but it was 6 bars that were all interconnected by back doors, and like one was a dance club, one was a bar, one was like a country club, one was like a coffee shop. So you can go from place to place. So they really didn't care what you wore, just because on any given night, depending on where the crowds were, you would wind up in any one of those 6.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That's kind of cool, yeah.
Fun, interesting place.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like they're like, I mean,
so they were all open till like 2 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. So like
wow.
Like around 1 a.m. you'd see like the Yeehaw Cowboys showing up in like the club, and it would just like the Venn diagram of collision of worlds was absolutely amazing every night. It was phenomenal.
I love that collision of worlds.
So now that's
when that happens. So
maybe they could do that with the Punchbowl space. Is chop it up and turn it into like 4 different bars, all with different themes,
and have them
still be like accessible.
That's the issue you're going to have with that place is you've got to have something that's got to have a huge footprint concept to it, or you got to chop it up.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope that whatever happens with that space, it's like a local Detroiter, and I hope it's like not a corporate bullshit scam. Yeah. Because it's pissing me off. I mean, like, we could go on a whole rant. I could go on a whole rant about Detroit and being gentrified and like turning into the bullshit that it's turned in. I mean, like, look at Eastern Market.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no more Russell Street Deli. There's no more Sapinos. There's no more, what's next? Vivio's. Like, I just really hope that there's like a small, a small space that can find the loan to turn it into something amazing, because I hate the corporate bullshit that's taking over Detroit. I really hate it.
The corporate bullshit, unfortunately, has all the dollars, and so that's why they are where they are.
And they shouldn't, though, because honestly, when you're looking at that corporate bullshit is, it's so disingenuous. It's so not what your market wants, or what your market like. No,
but
it's not.
Here's the thing: it's like you would think that, but then on a Friday night, you go into a Buffalo Wild Wings.
I was just gonna say that. Yep.
Packed.
That it blows my mind. Who goes to fucking Buffalo Wild Wings?
I don't know. Who listens to Kanye West? I can't stand that shit. But I mean, somebody does. Like, it's popular for a reason, just because we hate it. Like,
I mean, touche. But like, it's so stupid. Like, come on.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, the only way that industry is going to die is if people reject the corporate scheme.
I mean,
if they say we're not going to
Applebees on like the downswing, and isn't
how have they been on an upswing ever?
Ever.
They're cheap.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was one of my favorite things ever.
Way.
When they opened the one on 8 Mile, and Bob and Nuri and Billy and I crashed it, and like we had, I don't know if you've ever seen the picture, but like we had shirts made, and it was the Applebee's logo, but instead of the apple, it was the Old English D, and so the four of us go walking in there, and like we're mocking them openly, but it was hilarious because like they thought we were from corporate.
Yeah.
Because we were like wearing those shirts. The Detroit Free Press came over and interviewed us.
You probably got the best service of your life.
Oh my God, Bob was the most sarcastic asshole in the world, because like the free reporter was like, what are you guys doing here? And Bob was like, oh my God, dude, like how could we miss this? It's so amazing that an Applebee's opened on 8 Mile in Detroit. It's just like, it's coming back now.
Are you talking about the one at 8 in like Woodward?
Yeah, by the Meyer.
That's right next to my house.
Oh yeah, so like we were the opening day. The day it opened, we were there, and they printed it, and like you read it in flat text, and like none of the sarcasm comes through at all.
Oh, of course not.
But like all of our friends that read it were like, "Oh my God, you guys are such dicks."
Like Donald Trump sarcasm.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, I mean, but there is a, it's like, why are there so many Starbucks? It's
right.
There's a certain comfort factor with familiarity and similarity. Like, I don't care where I go in the country, a burnt cup of coffee at Starbucks is a burnt cup of coffee at Starbucks. And I don't care where I go, a $3 Long Island at Applebee's is a $3 Long Island at Applebee's.
I was just going to talk about their Long Island.
So that's a thing.
And not because I like them, because I think they're horrid.
Well, yeah, they're mostly sour.
They had $1 Long Islands the other month. It was like $1. That half that fucking thing is water.
The point is, at Applebee's, you can go out with somebody else and spend like $25-$30 and get a meal and some drinks, and it's not too overpriced. It's exactly what you're going to get.
Let me tell you a trick. I can go out almost anywhere with 2 people and spend $30. I can actually.
I was just thinking one. Sneakers, Ferndale. I can go there with $25. I can get super drunk.
Obliterated.
Time of my life.
Okay, Orchid and Luna, or not
like
Luna anymore.
Idiots like
Orchid
me are
and
walking
Ferndale,
around.
they have $2 fucking drinks. So go there with $20. You can leave $5 tip and get fucking wasted.
I can go to any VFW.
Right.
I just assume you were relying on idiots like me walking around.
$2 Captain Morgan's and Coke. Have the time of my life.
Yeah, blasted. $10.
Blasted.
Like Dave said, it does help if a kind young gentleman decides to buy you a drink or two.
Sure.
You do have.
But is the Applebee bartender offering to buy me drinks? No, he's fucking not, because he's broke.
Here's the other thing too, though, is that if a guy offers me a drink, I am like, literally, if they like pull them in front of them first and then pass them out, I'm tossing that shit behind my behind my shoulder. It
Okay,
doesn't
God only knows. Yep.
I'm going to be like grabbing the first one and then I'll take the shot and then I'll be like, thanks, and take off. But I'm not going to like sit there and have some guy like touch it first and then give it to me. It's like literally just going straight over the shoulder.
Well, hi, ma'am. Here's your roofie colada.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. I can't wait to not remember all this.
Dude, straight up. I mean, I got roofied one night, and they weren't actually going after me. They were going after someone I was with, but she shared her drink with me, and like literally a couple days later went back and like talked to the bar and all that stuff, and they pulled it, and the manager, they could not have been better about it. They could not have been more awesome about it. Manager calls me back a day later. He's like, dude, you got to come down here. I need you to see this. Number one, because they had caught the guy, because they found him on the security footage, and he came back in the next day. But literally, how smooth. Well, the day after they reviewed the footage, so it was like 4 days later he came back in. But reviewing the footage, he was so smooth. You'd have sworn like he never even touched her glass. He never you would have thought he was just pointing at something across the bar from next to her. They had to he had apparently one of his buddies was like a Department of Homeland Security dude, and they blew it up on the big screen and showed it and they had to slow it frame by frame to actually see what this guy did and him dropping stuff in her drink. It was crazy.
Douchey.
I had one of those experiences when I was living in Chicago. Big thing in Chicago is bottle service, and we went and I was with one of my girlfriends of mine, and this guy across the table, he was like, hey, come over, I got this bottle, blah, 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 I'm gonna get a new bottle, and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And we didn't even see him slip roofies into her drink. She is one of those girls where it's like she's always the most put together. Like all of us are shit shows, and she's always like the most put together drunk. All of a sudden she's a rag doll.
Yeah.
And we're like, and he's like, don't worry, I got her. I'm going to get her in a taxi. We're going to go back to my place. And thank God that we had enough wherewithal to be like, hell no.
Like, no, you're not.
You're not taking her home. Like, fuck you. It was crazy. And then like the next day was awful for her. But it was wild how quickly it happened, and none of us noticed it until she was like a total rag doll.
Yeah, no, literally, because
it's quick.
I had two vodka sodas. I had 2 vodka sodas someplace else, and like that drink of her drink was literally the third thing I had to drink. Now, Lauren and Remy, there's no way in hell that 2 vodka sodas are gonna put me on my ass like that, and that put me on, like I was gone. Like we barely made it out of that bar.
I feel funny.
I feel good.
And I had a couple of instances where it was like that too. Oh, go ahead, Remy.
I was gonna say, enough talking about all these douchebags. I would like to. I'd like to cheers my good friend Dave, who's celebrating another trip around the sun today. If we could all grab a shot or a glass.
Cheers!
We're cheersing. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I was going to say at the very end, today is my sister's birthday. So happy birthday, Lorraine. Take a little time. Everyone do a little.
Happy birthday to her, too.
Happy birthday, Lorraine.
Happy birthday, Lorraine.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that I've had a couple of experiences like that. It's fucked up to say I've had a couple of experiences like that, but it's a real thing.
Reality is what it is.
It happens pretty often. And there was one time I was hanging out at one of the bars I used to work at, and I don't know, like I had one drink and I was like, man, I don't feel right. And I like told my friends I'm going to go to the car, and like shitty friends for not coming with me, but they were like, okay, have fun. And I was like, okay, bye. And I left. And all I remember was that there was this guy following like behind me, and this girl got out of her car. She stopped at the stop sign, got out of her car, and was like, get the fuck away from her, get the fuck away from her, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just went to my car and like went into the back seat and like took a nap, and I had the doors locked. So
thank God for a good Samaritan.
But at the time I didn't even realize like what was going on, but I do remember that happening, and I was like, I wish I knew who that was, because whatever was happening, she was driving. So whatever he was doing behind me
Was enough of a red flag.
was enough for her to go, get the fuck away from that girl. You know what I mean? So I was like, hey, I wish that I would have known that. I had another time where I was like at another nightclub, and this guy who I know really well, I'm obviously not going to say because I don't know for a fact what happened, but all I remember was that this guy kept on asking me if I wanted some water, and I was like, no. And throughout the night, I was like dancing around, and he was like, do you need some water? I was like, yeah. And he still the same thing of water. And I took a sip of it, and I remember my friend Wayne was just like, she's coming with me, because I drove with him, and he was like, no, she's coming with me. And then all of a sudden I like woke up at my own house, and he had like carried me into my house and everything. So it's like, I mean, I was really young when both of these happened. I was probably like freshly 21 or even 20 at the time. And you know, I don't now, even though I don't know for sure that that's what happened, I didn't go to a hospital or anything like that. I am way more careful with my drinks. Like, I watch the bartender make my drink. I take my drink. I never set it down. If I'm going to the bathroom, I'll take it in the stall with me, or I'll have my friend hold it, and I will seriously be like, hold your hand over it. You know what I mean?
So I guess that would be a good segue into talking about, like, as a bartender, have you stopped a creep?
Oh, tons of times.
Absolutely.
I worked at Fifth
From
Avenue.
either bringing home a girl or whatever.
It was a weekly occurrence. Like, girls would set down their drinks and turn around and be talking to their friends and dancing, and I wouldn't be paying attention to their drink because I'm making drinks. But if I see a drink and it's there's obviously some girls around, they're not paying attention, I just grab it and dump it out. Hey, you spilled my drink. You threw away my drink. I'm like, oh, I'll make you another one.
I'll make you
on the house. No problem. I'll get you a new one. But you weren't paying attention to your drink, honey. I don't want you to get roofied. I don't know what the fuck these guys are doing. I'm not, I can't watch everything at once.
Yeah.
Did you?
And there was quite a few instances too where I was like, "Hey, buddy, she's not picking up what you're laying down. Why don't you go fuck off somewhere else, right? Like, you're annoying her. She's giving you all the signs of like, get away from me, creepo, and you're not getting it. And
you're getting the Heisman.
I was so cool with all the bouncers that I'd just be like, hey, come here, like, come over here and tell this guy to go fuck off somewhere else. Like, he's being a creep, he's not being fun. Like, go try your shtick somewhere else, buddy.
So Lauren, there were definitely like a few times where I feel like I've prevented females from being in an awkward situation. I mean, it's so hard. You try to read it because you don't want to overstep your bounds as a bartender, but then at the same time, it's like, I'd rather be safe than sorry and be like, you know what? I'm stepping in here and I'm saying like, you're a fuck. Bye.
And I don't want to see a news story tomorrow that I could have prevented.
Exactly right.
I've straight up asked girls when like the person leaves to go to the bathroom or something, like, do you know him? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Are you aware of this person, or do you know them personally? Are you here on a first date? Like,
but the scary thing is like, even with my girlfriend that like I was talking about that got roofied in Chicago, like the scary thing is like they know them. You know what I'm
sometimes
saying?
It's somebody
like,
that they
know those guys.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they feel comfortable enough with them, and that's why I think that gives a guy that mentality that he can do it.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also that they go ahead, Remy.
No, I was gonna say it's just like absolute jerks. I don't understand why guys have to act like that.
Well, and how pathetic is your life that that's where you are in your life. Like
you have roofie girls.
Let's be absolutely clear about it. Like, how pathetic are you?
Rugging
that's what you have to do.
To potentially rape them or to actually rape them.
Yeah, dude. Like go to Backpage. Go. There are places where you can. Yeah, go to the back room of a strip club. Do something. Jesus. Yeah.
Fall off the edge of the earth.
Yeah.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Because if a woman doesn't want to have sex with you, then fucking deal with it.
I've misread a situation though on the other end of it, being behind the bar and like some girl's giving off a weird vibe and the guy's like hitting on her and stuff, and I give her kind of like the eye contact thing, like, are you okay in this situation? They're like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, like I got it. And then they end up, she gets drunk, they make out, they go home together. I'm like, all right, I guess she was down with it, like fine,
But even then, it's like, you don't know. She could wake up tomorrow and be like, I don't remember doing that. You know,
That's such a sticky situation because it's like consent and.
But it's
like,
not your job as
Like,
a
is she just
bartender to
drunk
stop
or,
people.
you know?
It's
right.
not your job as a
can't-
bartender to like make sure that people are leaving with the people they're supposed to be leaving with.
You can't
I
be the
mean,
morality police.
That
I
was
am not the
like
morality police.
one time when I was bartending in Chicago, I had a bar patron. He had a few drinks. He seemed totally fine. And it was nothing where it was like me being like, oh my God, he's wasted. I need to get him a ride home.
Right.
But he ended up leaving the bar and he fell asleep in the middle of an intersection in his car.
What the fuck?
And
I was really tired.
and they were trying to like pin it back on the bar.
Yeah.
And my whole thing was like, listen, I served him this drink, this drink, this drink. He seemed fine. How does that come back to me?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Do a drug test before he comes in to make sure he hasn't done any opioids?
Need a breathalyzer before every shot.
Oh, yeah.
Or he did something in the bathroom? Like, how does that come back
Yeah,
to me?
that's another thing too, is bathroom time. Is like
As
when
a
people go
fucking
in there, they have
bartender.
flasks.
Well, and who knows, like, also, like, what medication was he on before he came to the bar?
Or he had a bottle in the
Exactly.
car.
Or he had
a
a bottle in the
Right.
car that he chugged before he went. You know what I mean?
Anything. There's
Like,
so many variables that
how
can
does that
happen.
come back to the bartender?
Did you see?
I mean,
I think
usually
this was like,
doesn't stick.
I think this was
but-
like 6 weeks ago because it was obviously before that, but it was like right before the whole lockdown thing happened. Guy went to court on a DUI charge
Mhm.
and walked into court drunk as shit. And they actually like pulled the footage. And this is like 9 a.m. They pulled the footage from the parking lot cameras. He literally sat and he got to court an hour early and drank an entire bottle of vodka. Like an
Wow.
entire fifth of vodka before
No,
he walked in.
I did not see that.
And he was
What?
like, well, I was nervous.
Oh
Oh.
my god. Okay. All
I
right,
just need a
guys.
little nip to calm my nerves. Just a
Like
little
this,
nip.
like Skippy, there's a difference between taking the edge off and going for a blackout. Like that's yeah.
Yeah, you're.
That is
You're going for a
crazy.
blackout.
Oh my
The
god.
judge is gonna sentence you to a 12-step program faster than your fucking.
Well, and that's the thing because they were trying to bust him for a DUI.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't drive. Like I sat there in my
Yeah.
car and like so they pulled the footage and watched him drink an entire fifth of vodka in the car. They're like, okay, well you didn't drive. You're still a dumbass for showing up to court like at a
Yeah.
.28 or whatever the hell he was.
Right.
Oh, he was super drunk.
2-8.
Oh, by the time they tested him, by the time
You
they
stay
tested him, he was
sober
super
for
drunk.
the court date.
Yeah.
Just
Just stay
one
sober for it.
hour of your life, dude.
Wow.
Take the edge off afterwards.
Yeah.
But like,
Or if you're
honestly,
gonna
though,
drink, then drink
that's-
like just a little bit.
That's a really scary thing as like a bartender though, is because like I have read news reports of where they are charging bartenders with like
I've seen it happen.
over serving, and it's like, but how do I know when they've taken a medication before?
Dram shop
Or-
laws are a real thing, and they are a real nuisance sometimes. It's
But,
like,
like,
I get it.
I mean,
But I
like that
don't
was
get
like the guy that I served. It's like he was fine. He was totally fine, and then he
Yep.
falls asleep in the middle of an intersection. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Again, they're gonna look at the footage. They're gonna say, who else can corroborate your story? Who else saw this guy and said, yeah, he was
Yeah,
fine. Yeah,
It's not easy. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not easy to prove. But,
I had a guy. He's going around Royal Oak, getting kicked out of this bar and that bar. He was next door, and I didn't know this. He comes in. We have bouncers at the door, carting everybody, and so he gets past them, and he comes up to me, and he orders a Miller Lite, one beer, and he ordered it fine. He wasn't slurring or anything. 5 minutes later, he's being like, he hasn't drank the half the beer, and he's just being obnoxious. He already came in
Belligerent.
drunk. He was drunk, but he was hiding it pretty well, and was just a quiet sort of guy when he ordered his beer. But then he's getting into a conversation, and he's drunk, and he's hammered, and the owner comes up to me, freaking out at me, and I'm like, dude, he was fine 5 minutes ago. He's like, he's obviously not fine. I'm like, whoa. The only interaction I had with him was, hey, can I get a Miller Lite? And I gave it to him. He's like,
Right, and
you
as a
should know
bartender,
better.
you're expected
You
to
should
make
know
those
better. You should
split
not be.
dis-
And I'm like, fuck
those
you,
split
man.
second decisions, that could potentially
Yeah.
have like super huge repercussions.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever, man. You want to kick him out of your bar? Kick him out of your bar. He was fine when he ordered a Miller Lite for me. That's all I served him. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Sorry.
There were a lot of times when I was working in Chicago that I would, like, some regulars would just get so fucking wasted that I would go to my manager and I would be like, what do you want me to do?
Like, we got to cut him off.
Like, do you want me to cut him off? Or what do you want me to do? Because now I'm putting the onus on you.
Yeah, now it's the politics of the bar
now
and what do you want to do? Yeah.
Now it's you and what you want me to do. Because now I can say legally that I asked the manager and the manager said, keep serving him.
Covered your ass.
I mean, you have the right to decide whether or not you want to serve someone either way. But, when it comes to somebody who's like pregnant or something, which I've had to deal with, I did have
That's gross.
come up to my bar.
Sorry,
and
I'm judging.
Drink, and it was like a real thing. Like, oh, girl, where'd she go?
I'm just grabbing a beer.
Oh, okay. It's like a real thing. If people are like, if they're pregnant or something, like I still have to serve them like legally.
Yep.
And
here's the thing though, like as a bartender, you have the right to refuse service to anybody for any reason that you want to.
Right.
It's a privilege, not a right to drink alcohol. So if you see a pregnant girl and you don't feel comfortable serving her, you can make up any excuse in the book to not serve her.
Well,
she
they
can try
tell
and
you
sue
to ask
you,
a manager to do it, and I literally
Yep.
that's what I did. I was like, hey, I don't feel comfortable, and he turned around and made her the drink because in reality, she has the right to drink if she wants to.
Yeah, at that bar that I worked at with the guy that I told you about, like the Hooters costume, whatever, he was such an asshole. Like, he was like, serve everyone, no matter what.
Yep.
And I was just like, as a human being, I don't feel comfortable with that. Like, that is not what I should be doing. If they're falling off their bar stool, I had a guy fall off his bar stool and hit his head.
Yeah, you got to cut
and
him
then
off
stand up and order another drink. No, I'm not going to serve you.
We've all been there before. Hey, speaking of cutting people off, we've got to go because time is up. I want to thank Lindsay. It was so much fun having you on.
Lindsay, thank you for coming on.
Of course, I had so much fun.
Dave, happy birthday again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Thank you.
Rain, happy birthday.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Bye.